Hey, Whit. Oh, is my microphone on? Yeah, can you get it back to me? To the slideshow. Start. We're ready to start. Hello, thank you for coming. This is New Paradise Laboratories. My name is Hatlen. I'm the managing director for New Paradise. This is Whit McLaughlin, the artistic director and founder. And this is Katy, Otto, our connectivity director. And we're each going to talk for a little bit today about some of the initiatives that we've been working on over the last few years. And we've been interested in exploring a model that looks at multiple points of entry for the audience to engage in our work, including using theatrical ideas to intrude in the internet in an artistic way. Where our target audience generally are these digital natives that everybody talks about, and we're trying to find ways to meet them where they are rather than trying to bring them to us. We're starting with going to them. So we're finding ways to merge artistic content with marketing as an expression of our mission. So I'm going to talk a little bit about NPL's background to put it in context, and then Whit's going to talk specifically about some of the projects that we've done over the past few years. And then Katy's going to talk about connectivity and how we define that, and some of the strategies that we've been using to tie all these different artistic practices together into kind of a unified voice. So we'll start at the beginning. Oh, we didn't move that mission. Oh, I'm gonna just tell you our mission statement. So New Paradise Laboratories is an experimental performance ensemble that explores radical means of expression to bend and reshape conventional ideas of theater. Our core subject is human presence in all of its manifestations. So I was thinking about how the hospitality person was talking about how you simplify your mission into an action, and if we were to do that, essentially it would be to make mind-blowing experiences for our audiences. And so I'm just going to give you a little background on New Paradise and how we got here. What do I do? How do I get that to go back?
Is there a guy back there sitting at the...
No. Okay.
No, that shouldn't be happening.
Okay. Well, I'll just give you a little background on New Paradise. We were founded in 1996 by Whit and a group of young performers who'd been working with in Southern Virginia. We're now based in Philadelphia. The roots of New Paradise are based in experimental physical devised theater. It's very rooted in physical human presence in the room, and I think that's important to know. And the human body, space, history, utopian ideals. The work is very immersive. We're heavily influenced by visual art, philosophy, and the style, it's a very distinctive style. And it's very immersive, and for some people it can be kind of overwhelming. It's kind of like a sound and visual experience. The artists that we work with over time are multidisciplinary. So we work with performers and designers, musicians. We work with web designers who are in the room with us at the beginning of the devising process, and architects, visual artists, historians, and as well as media designers. And actually, we sometimes work with playwrights too. Our audience tends to be college age, young audiences, college age, post-college, young professionals, artists, people interested in the content of our work as well as that immersive experiential quality of the work. We've created 19 pieces over the last 15, going on 16 years. And we're a small organization. We generally don't self-present. We're usually commissioned or presented by larger organizations. So we've been commissioned by the Humana Festival to do an adult piece. And we've also been commissioned by Children's Theater Company to create work for teen audiences. So kind of a range of types of audiences that we've worked for. So we're project driven. So we don't have a season, we don't have a building, we don't have a big staff. So that does allow us to be flexible. And part of us staying small is that we feel like the type of work that we do and our mission allows us to take really high risks and do things that explore really big ideas because we can. So we think of our work, I'm just going to show you a few pictures of some of the pieces that we've done over the years. This is Fab 4, Prom, our piece for teen audiences, that's also Prom. Batch, part of the Humana Festival, commissioned by Humana Festival, Batch. This is from our piece Fate Book, which I'll talk a little bit about later, Fate Book as well. A piece from 2010 called Freedom Club. And this is some stuff from Extremely Public Displays of Privacy, which is a piece we did a couple of years ago. So, this is from our most recent live theater piece, 27. And Whit's going to show you some of the work that we've been doing. So it kind of gives you an idea of the visual intensity of the work. Oh, there's our mission. So we made works for about 10 years, and then around 2007, we started to become interested in ways that we could use the web as a tool for artistic expression, not strictly as a billboard, but as an actual mission-driven expression of art. So we started asking a few questions. Can we use the tools that digital natives use every day to reach them with artistic content? So in essence, we're trying to figure out how to prepare for this theater of the future that connects with a new generation of audience and brings artistic ideas to them. Can marketing and artistic offerings overlap? Do we need to think of marketing and artistic content as separate things? And how is it useful to think about them merging? And is there a way that we as a theater can reach outside theater audiences to bring in new audiences into our work? And also think about people who may never come to our theater as part of our audience, people who participate in our other forms of artistic outreach. So these questions led to the creation of a piece called Fate Book in 2009. And that was a piece that was created with artistic content and character content online, as well as in a live space. It led to a performance in a live space. Then in 2011, we followed up that piece with a very ambitious project called Extremely Public Displays of Privacy. That piece existed online in a series of videos, in a downloadable mobile walking tour, video and sound walk through Philadelphia, and then in a live concert performance in a secret venue. So Whit's going to show you more about that. And at the same time in 2011, we launched a new website called Frame, which is where we integrate our live and online performances into a kind of internet performance, expression of mission, idea box, audience exchange place. And we share source material, ideas, and it's kind of an aesthetic conversation. And we're continuing to develop Frame. We launched it in 2011, and it's been through beta and it continues to develop now. And so during all this, we're still creating live works, more conventional. I guess you call them conventional. They're works where you buy a ticket, you go to a place at a certain time, you sit in a seat and you watch something. So in that way, they were more traditional style performances. So we've been making those as well. And so now we're at the point where we're trying to find a way to really merge and integrate organically our live in the room theater concepts and work with our online ideas and expression of mission. So Whit's going to talk a little bit about some of those pieces.
I think crucial here at this juncture to mention is that ultimately what this is kind of about is thinking outside the darkened room. Where does that rest with us? Where does that reside with us now? And are there things that we can do to really sort of break out of the walls? Love it as we do. We're dealing in a world here where 75% of people get 75% of their entertainment from their computers. And that's just a changing demographic that I think we need to be responsive to. And if we don't do this, I'm afraid that commercial interests will pretty much sew it up and lock it up tight, and there won't be much room for the kind of insanity that comes down the pike with theater. And so, if that's part of our mission, this bending and reshaping the conventions of theater, I think we're engaged with that. I'm very pleased to have Peter Brocious in the room here. The Children's Theater Company in Minneapolis commissioned our first internet piece and took us a long way down the road towards realizing, and I'll get to that in a second. I want to talk a little bit about extremely public displays of privacy. This was our piece where the Act 1 was online, delivered online to you in your PJs. Act 2 was a mobile, phone-delivered walking tour of downtown Philadelphia. So basically, people walked around with their cell phones like this, their smartphones, and you saw a character talking to you in situ. So you were like, the world was live, and you were superimposing a pre-created thing on the world, and it led you on this journey through downtown. And Act 3, that eventually took you to a place where you saw a large billboard that directed you to a concert. And so Act 3 was like a live concert of all the songs in a dramatic setting of all the songs from the show. And I'll explain that a little bit more. So this is Extremely Public Displays, Act 1. Actually, this is all unlocked. If you go there yourself to witness this, it will look different. But I just want to be able to cruise around in it a little bit. And there's, that was a big decision, by the way, whether it should be, sequentially delivered or unlocked. So you would come here and you would start with this, and this is the first. There are a series of music videos that express a relationship over time. So there's original music that we recorded and remixed in a variety of ways. So you would, like if you clicked on this piece here, you would kind of zoomed into, come on, internet, a conversation that was back and forth between music videos and Okay, so it's a highly imagistic delivery of two female characters, one who's 44 and one who's 22, who sort of fall in love online and remix each other's stuff and converse through the remixing process. So, and there's even, if you go, there's even archival footage of the older character from 22 years ago made into a video that was the source. Her actual life became the source, and a song that she wrote, the source of our, of the story in some very important ways. I won't lead you too far down the road here, but each one has a name. And this is interesting, I think, because once you got to Y of extremely, there are 4 different websites here that are expressive of things about each character. So it's a little bit like what you do when you fall down your own rabbit hole. Like, you know, YouTube's great at that. It's like, okay, I watched this video, oh, look at that, I'm gonna go there. And then pretty soon, 3 hours are gone, and you've, like, you're in Tasmania. And that action, we feel, is the depth that we want to bring to the internet. And so, like, My Night With You, if you go to that, it's a little porno-y, but if you, it's about this art project that one of the characters has to hook up with guys and then surreptitiously photograph them and then post them online with a big public breakup. So if you went to My Night With You, you'd see all the men who were in her gallery, her notched gallery of conquests. So, you know, it's the internet. So that's the first act. Then Act 2, you would go and download this series of little performances that led you through town. And then Act 3 is a live, it's the record of a live performance. And Peter, you'll recognize somebody who's in this. And then, oh, there. And then we also recorded the album that compiled this whole thing, delivered on a cute little USB delivered thing. So you just plug it into your computer and you can download the whole album that way. So this is what you came into for the Act 3. It was a room that we found that had been decommissioned for 50 years. And we put this performance, we built a theater inside the theater, and it was this little room, and then we jammed cell phones in there. So there was, like, we tried to eliminate all digital information from the room. So it's a non-digital space. And so it's this very direct relationship with the central character. So in this way, we're trying to import soul into cyberspace. Can it be about depth, not just about breadth? All right. That's the really quick version. Here, I just want to show you really briefly. This is the central website for Fatebook, which is the first piece we made, 13 characters, young 22 to 26-year-olds who are sort of entering professional world, full-vested adulthood. They decided to have a party. Each one of these characters had a Facebook page that had fiction at its core. And so if you click on one of these, it will take you to a page about that person. Come on, load, dude. And there's a YouTube video that each actor made of themselves. So the actors become kind of inventors or dramaturgs here. And incidentally, that's an issue that has not been raised by Actors' Equity yet. Can an actor make a video of themselves and post it to YouTube that we can then embed in our website? And we pay them as dramaturgs for a while. Then, I mean, and so it's like, it's a way to, is there anyone from Equity here? That was like really stupid. Oh no! All right, well, Can we excise that from the record? You know, like the terror of this is that, you know, theater, the development of the art form can't wait for certain of our institutions. I'm just afraid that's the way it is. And I can talk to you about all this, the sort of slippery and slidey legal issues surrounding this piece at another date. But so that's Fatebook. And then what then developed, I mean, there's a lot more to show you there. But what eventually developed out of that was our institutional website, which we call Frame, which is like, Marcel Duchamp, the great French theorist, artist, much of his work is housed in Philadelphia. And I kind of, when I came here, I found that collection and I became very impressed with how basically a lot of things about the 20th century were heavily influenced by him. And he has a thing called the green box, which is he took all of his research and put it in a box and said, called it art, and put a frame around it. And the thought process itself became a performance. And I liked that idea so much, I thought, well, we need to make a website that links together all of these kind of cyber ideas and live space ideas. All right, so what you have here is posts that are not our stuff and posts that is our stuff. And incidentally, I just checked last night, and we had 3 or 4 followers who spent a considerable amount of time on Frame in Izmir, Turkey, and so I shouted out to them. I thought, like, why not? And so we're doing that now. The other day it was, there was a group in Spain that really was digging Frame, and then in Tasmania. So what you have here is conventional web stuff here. You can find out all you want to about our work. And then you have this green box expression of our work. So there's very little on this, and then, oh, if you want, you can, oh, you know, see that? There's a little page curl, tricky little cute thing there. And that opens up, and underneath, people post responses, their own responses to work. And, you know, we're working on how to connect with this. It's a very visible kind of public expression of, oh, this, is, by the way, is a video of Frank Moore. If those of you who came up during the NEA 4 time, he was a performance artist who was defunded by the NEA. And so it's a way for us to contextualize our work all the time. And we say it's not about our work, it is our work. There are fictional curators that work on this. There are people that we work with all the time to find this, to cool hunt all this stuff. So you come here, you may or may not know you're seeing something that's about New Paradise Laboratories, but over time, if you return, you will. And I think the year before we made this, we had 800 hits on our website in a year. The year that we made this now, it's like 47,000 this year in 180 countries. So we consider for a small, like, under $500,000 a year theater company, that's not Lady Gaga, but that's 200 people a day are coming to see New Paradise stuff all over the world. And so now we're talking to somebody this next week from Germany who wants to.
Well, maybe
yeah,
I'll
go ahead. Yeah,
I'm Katy, Otto. I'm our connectivity director, and this is the first job I've had in theater in any way. I am not someone who comes from the world of theater. I actually was introduced to this through extremely public displays of privacy, which a friend recommended to me. I am a musician, and I've been playing since I was a teenager and touring, and so that's my passion. And my friend said, you should check out this thing. It's one of the characters is a musician, and it was never really called like a theater piece. She just said, just check out this thing online. And so I guess part of what I hope to do is bring more people like me into this kind of work and into theater, because I relate to performance and experience, but it was just not a practice that I grew up in. And so my other background has been in communications and social justice work. So I try to bring all of that to what we're doing with connectivity. You know, and some of it's a learning curve. Some of the work that I've done is very different. But trying to message what we're doing both to people who are familiar with our old in the room work, and not to make them feel alienated, but also bring in these new folks. So some of the ways we've been doing that is through delivery via a host of different platforms. So with it, I kind of think you could see an arc between Facebook to Extremely Public, where Facebook was happening over a few platforms, and then with Extremely Public, we brought in things like SoundCloud, Vimeo, and other ways that somebody could just
supply.
Yes, somebody, and you know, somebody could share out a piece of it, and you yourself, I thought of it almost as a choose your own adventure, but a more sophisticated one, where you would see a piece of something. Maybe you'd see a visual image or one of the videos or the songs, and you'd kind of fall down into the story. And I guess what you had said something that
stitching together all this stuff.
So, well, I've also tried to explore ways we can use some of the traditional social media platforms creatively and artistically. When I started, we had a Twitter with about 30 followers, and I was like, we could do a little bit better than this. But I also have spent enough time in my nonprofit communications life knowing that a lot of best practices of how to tweet and, you know, how to get the most followers actually generate some pretty boring content. So I thought, well, let's try to, you know, share some of these ideas, send them to strange people. Maybe if we have something about Lady Gaga on here, we could tweet at her. Just take risks that we're able to take as a small company. And so one thing that's strange that's happened is we're still not a huge Twitter handle. We have about 400. Well, thanks to this conference, we just got our 400th follower. But the people that have been following us have been very, it's sort of like a class of people that seems to be huge on Twitter, and that's about it. Like, you know, these folks that seem to, you know, I look at their profiles and I'm like, is this a real person? But interesting individuals who seem to have cultivated a lot of presence on the web. So how can we do that but import some of these artistic values that we have and intrude those onto what they're doing? The other day we were followed by Miss Pennsylvania. I keep trying to interact with her and she isn't interacting back, but
she's, I'm sure, hired.
But I like that idea. I don't know that she knows what we are. I'm not exactly sure what thread looped her in, but the cool thing about some of these posts is they also become places where we can talk to folks about current events, but in interesting ways, and we try really hard to not just make it a recycling bin of things that you've already seen on Boing Boing or Facebook. That's a constant challenge, but I guess one of the things that I've been trying to do is really cultivate the curiosity of people like myself and different from myself who might have these different entry points. I don't know if Whit showed this was how, so Extremely Public Displays was also a musical of sorts there, and that we made a flash drive of, I'm sorry, yeah, okay. There was a session right before that was the same. I was like, did he just show it in the last one? Yeah. But so we also found ways to sort of intrude those songs places. We put that on iTunes. It would be possible for someone, for example, to come into the work through the music. And so I guess another thing that we've been trying to do with the connectivity is not just have people go through the different platforms, but do in-person meetings and get a feedback loop so we can hear what people think of what we're doing. Yeah.
One thing, yeah, I know. One thing that Katy's doing is like we're reaching way outside the theater realm. We're not thinking about a person who might have $1 in their pocket to spend at the theater and competing for that. Some of the one-on-ones that she's arranged, we're talking to a lot of people one-on-one. We go to them, we show them our stuff, we walk them through how to move it, because there's the entry is complicated for people who aren't digital natives. and so you know, which is largely the theater crowd. So theater doesn't know what it thinks about this. And we encountered a thing with our web designers who worked with us for 3 or 4 years. They made 5 different sites with us. I had to threaten them to come to the live performance. because they didn't want to be in a room where they couldn't click away. And so what do we do about that? How do we merge these words? So all of our stuff now is a little bit about, I don't know whether the internet stuff is the main event or the sideshow, but we're starting to develop things that work together to reflect and refract each other. And I know National Theatre of Scotland is creating works now that's in the internet that surround their work. So it's like a festival that's both cyber and real. And that's what we're finding too, is that we need to think about this way to integrate these things. And I think that's partly, you know, Katy's job, how we're investigating that. Questions?
Yeah. Yeah, we only have a few more minutes, but if anybody has any questions, yes?
405.
What's that?
405.
Oh, 405.
405.
Oh, thanks. I'm sorry. For a second, I was like, is she saying we're running overtime or under time? Thank you.
I find it like, what does this mean for theaters that are not in this boutique realm? I mean, we have a brand that we can afford to make a clear brand that has a voice that is gonna, people are gonna come to and go, oh, I hate that, instantly, and run away. You know, okay, fine. You know, we're cool with that. And you know, we're talking to this guy, Little Baby Ice Cream the other day. I can't get enough of this guy. He's made a Philadelphia-style ice cream boutique thing with two friends, and they made a YouTube video that had 3 million viewers, and it's been like a rocket ship, this little brand of ice cream. He has so much to say to us. I go to his website. It's like so laser beam in its, and how they have created their voice. And so the ice cream, they make weird flavors of ice cream, and
like Earl Grey, sriracha, or
it's like, and so it's like this experience. They're not making just ice cream. It's like this adventure surrounding ice cream, and like everybody knows it, you know, and it's like everybody wants it, and like we could be thinking that way. So you know, what we like to say is we don't do much marketing work that is about our work. It's all our work. And it's not expressed by somebody we hire to sell it. It's expressed by us. It is our voice, which is really the entrepreneurial model of how voice happens in this country, you know, to a great extent, you know, like on some grassrootsy level. Yeah, yes? Okay.
Could you come in? They're recording this, so.
Just the comment that what you're doing is, you know, you're showing by doing, which I think is fantastic. So when people, I'm already, just looking at this, I feel like I already have a sense of who you are and what it would be like to be within those 4 walls experiencing your live work, which I think is pretty incredible. I'm not watching a Talking Heads documentary about what you do. I'm actually experiencing it through your website. So. Wow. I work at Cornerstone Theater Company. We're a community engaged theater, and for a long time, you know, our documentation and our communications has been the Talking Heads video, and in some ways it still is. So, you know, this is inspiring for me to think about how can our online space do what our plays do and do what our community spaces do. So it's really just a shout out to say I think you guys are taking a huge risk and somewhat the vanguard of what you can do online. So
just a point of reference on that. That's very interesting what you just said. I can tell when I go to a video now, if a logo comes up, I'm like,
yeah,
you know,
you're ready to turn it off because you know you're being marketed to.
Right, and you feel it, and none of the things that these young actors make have that vibe. You don't. Right. It's a mystery. You don't know what's going to happen. It's not a coherent delivery of things about something.
And in that way, you're giving us a lot of agency. Like, I like that as well. Like, I feel like I can interact with this. I can have an opinion about it. I can respond to it. You're not speaking at me. So it's inspiring for me in my work.
One thing to say, too, about, so the guy one of the people that founded Little Baby, one of the things I'm trying to do is bring these people I know from other places in my life, and he's this creative musician guy around town. But he...
Her band is called Trophy Wife. It's a punk art duo.
That's my
two women,
my band.
yeah, and she has a record label too. She didn't mention that, so it's like she's this polymath of connectivity.
So I've been playing music with this guy since we were teenagers, but what I think was great about it is they made this weird video. It made a lot of people angry. It's kind of you should look up this little baby's ice cream video. It's like this amorphous character. They'd use some graphics, and they're eating ice cream off their own head, and you can't tell the gender, and it made people angry. They got hate mail. A woman in Idaho wanted to boycott them. They're like, we're not even in Idaho. But 3 million views, and then they had ad firms calling them, who's your ad development team? They're like, we just made that. And it made people angry because I don't know, sometimes I just want to balk at a lot of this best practices of how to market to people, because the things that take off are new and exciting, and you can't prescribe them. And I think people really do. People are intuitive enough to know when you're really pushing stuff on them.
This is part of why we have Katy, because she brings a really different perspective, from...
We don't exactly know how to sell shows. We try to get other people to do that for us. And, and I don't really think we put our money into this. And so, this year we scored, Katy scored a Mashable. We were nominated for a Big Think Humanizing Technology Award, which is Bing, which is Microsoft's search engine. We were written about and interviewed by this journal called Vague Terrain, which is about the different ways of delivering content. I was interviewed by a guy in German public television. It's like we couldn't make this happen. We have to attract this to happen, and it's like that's the style of the world now.
Well, it was interesting when they showed the gamification talk of like people decide in less than 10 seconds if they want, but they do it with things beyond just do they want to look at your website. Like they do it with tweets, and they do it with I don't know, some of the best stories we've gotten about our work. I know that the person, it was just I had like 5 words I could say to catch someone's interest. Kind of
I love those. You can skip this ad in 5 seconds, and it's like, what have they done? Like, I want to watch this ad. It's like somehow in that 5-second window, my finger poised over, and I often click it, but there's sometimes, I watch it because it's a story that has grabbed me in 5 seconds. I wanted to just show you this. This is our recent live piece. It's about, in some ways, it's kind of a piece about, so it's very kinetic. This is a loop. I can't explain it right now, but so it's very much in the room kind of stuff. But it lent itself to a kind of vital, delivery. In our Frame website. So that's, now we're sort of using Frame to reflect back and help us guide us into what we make. And that has, everything to do, to a certain extent, with the people who are going to Frame and telling us about their responses to it. So is it possible to sort of crowdsource a show?
That was one thing that was exciting to me about, and I'm so sorry for coughing in a microphone, that's bad form, but about New Paradise's approach when I first learned about it was that many of these shows, the audition process was also happening online, so there were YouTube auditions, and it's interesting, you can watch what other people did, but it's also sort of creating a body of thought, like a prompt, hey, make a video on the subject of dissent. D-E-S-C-E-N-T, not D-I-S-S-E-N-T. And so then we have this body of videos that people have made that kind of start the growth of the piece.
But, and we're typically thought of maybe as difficult work. It's not, some people find it difficult, some people don't. So how do we give enough toehold in the work? So does the voice of New Paradise through all these various avenues want to be difficult or easy or somewhere in between? It's like, how do we pitch how we talk? And so we have to like listen to how we talk. And that's how we talk, you know, as much as we can. We're a boutique organization. We get to do that. And I wonder if, you know, what boutique might have to do with, to say to all of us. Yes, sir.
Pete Miller from Woolly Mammoth.
Oh, hi. You're the connectivity dudes.
Yeah. First, I find your work very artistically exciting. For my own dark purposes of growing playgoing in America, I also think this is a terrific example, and I hope this isn't too reductionist for you, of you guys are creating a completely different doorway into playgoing. Like a whole population that is never going to walk into my theater on their own may, through all this stuff you're doing, through the kind of wide and varied net you're throwing, may discover theatrical performance. You know, a lot of people are just going to enjoy what you're doing on the web, and that's magnificent. Some of them are going to go to one of your live performances. A few of them are going to say, I love live performance, I want to see some more. And I think we need, you know, dozens to hundreds more organizations of your ilk, you know, each one doing its own aesthetic, each one doing its own experiments in this, to create many, many more doors into playgoing. So, you know, I see what you're doing as, like, I hope you're just fulfilling yourselves artistically like crazy, but I also see you as doing a service to the field by creating more doorways into playgoing.
We started talking about this at TCG maybe 4 years ago, and it was like beach balls out. You know, it's like, it was hard for people to wrap their heads around what this was. It's taken, and we've talked every year now for 3 or 4 years, and people are starting to go, oh, yeah, that's awesome. And it's probably because our practice has evolved as well. I mean, and you know, so we have to approach funders from the perspective of, out in the world of the dogs of commerce, there's a thing called venture capital. And venture capital means that Tumblr, the 3rd largest social media site in the United States, has never had to make $1 in the 7 years of its operation. They are preparing for something. So it's been capitalized. Is there going to be a profit taking? I don't know. How do we think about venture capital in the United States, in the not-for-profit realm? Because without TCG, without funders here who are sort of going, we don't know what this is going to be. This is not going to get good reviews. This is this is our risk capital of the year. That's so good for us. That's so good, and we can do this because, as we said, like it, you know, I actually dream of a way that a thing like this, or like our pieces, could be made with an iPhone and a kid with a WordPress site, and you could make a piece. And if you understood how to brand it, I mean, I could talk about that. We've done a lot of experiments with branding. It's hard, because you're working inside somebody else's domain, and they have terms of use that don't want you to do these things, and so you're constantly trying to hedge and do slightly illegal things, and you know.
Yeah.
Anything else?
We're not going to make, you know, you can't really make money off of this. There's not really any way to monetize this.
Yet.
And yet.
I think that's true.
Well,
any way you can create passion eventually can be turned into enough money.
That's possible. You're not going to get a chorus line out of it, maybe. We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
And we can't, like, finding board members is really hard for us, because the people who are on boards, like, they look at us, they go like, what are you doing? And so, like, the only way we know how to get board members is to wait till they call us, because they've been hook, line, and sinkered by something. And it's like Katy came to us, and then we just said, you know what, do you want a job? And she said yes, and we didn't search, you know, it was just a slam dunk. And so, you know, like, and I don't know how else to do it. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Linnea. I'm from Dad's Garage in Atlanta.
Hi.
I love what you guys are doing. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. And I've been experimenting with the idea of content as marketing for the last couple of years and have not been super successful with it. I'm wondering if you guys can kind of explain the parts of what you do that you do see as marketing. Because it all seems very content-based to me, and I love that. But in your heads, like, when do you feel like you're marketing something?
Well, I think one of the good fortunes is that when we've done these pieces that are in the room, they've had the support of the Live Arts and Fringe Festival, and so they've been marketed in that way. And
Right. Presenters can do some of the,
Heavy lifting.
the heavy lifting in terms of that kind of stuff. They can send out postcards and take out ads and do radio stuff and do big posters and things like that, and send out emails and do kind of more mainstream.
But I have to say,
and that has to happen too, I mean, it does.
we haven't had good success with hiring firms because basically what happens is they come to you and after a 5-minute conversation they go, like, what are you doing? And they can't apply their formula to your content. So it's like basically it becomes like an expensive seminar that we're giving them about what we're doing. And so like my recommendation always is get some kids. And like I remember I heard somebody from a large presenting organization about 5 years ago, it's like all we need is like a kid who can come in and do all this stuff for us. And I was like, that is not the way to think about this process. It's like they're going to get somebody who's going to, like, I don't know anything about this, but you're going to, like, make all of this happen. And so the trick is to integrate somehow with somebody's desire at a level that you can remunerate and have them invent, and then your artistic direction has to be talking to that person. And I think frequently what happens is that as artistic directors, we cordon ourselves off. We think our work is here in the darkened room. My voice is unimportant. But I would beg to differ in this day and age. Artistic direction needs to speak more directly to our constituencies, I feel. And I feel that's partly because when we audition a show now, the auditions are all online. And then we get them into a room and work with them, but their first thing is, like, 300 people will write me they're interested. I say, make a 30-second video on the theme of decline or descending. And so then, and here's how you post it, and it's all tagged New Paradise Laboratories, it's all on YouTube, you can watch them in a line, and they start generating hits. That's marketing. Their friends are seeing their audition, and they've gone out and they've made this cool little piece with their cell phone, and it's expressive. It's them. And so we look at that stuff, and I go, I see them in the room, I go, I love this person, but their video sucked. So they have to be able to speak through the medium. And so now we have a new company that gets it more. They're 22 to 29-year-olds, and they get it more. We got to stop?
Yeah, we're all done.
Ah.
Sorry.
Thank you all.
Thank you.